I know this is a shock to you, but not everyone likes chocolate. I don't get it either, but for those of you who don't like chocolate or someone you love doesn't like chocolate, today I have a special treat for you. Apple pie, but not just any apple pie. Thanks for joining me today on Susan's Cozy Kitchen. A few days ago on Facebook, I noticed that a friend of mine had made a pie and it looked incredible. And then I found out it was an apple pie without a top crust. That was the first thing that really intrigued me about this pie. The second was when I read the recipe and I found out it used shredded apples instead of sliced apples. And let me tell you, back in the country in Tennessee where I grew up, everybody there has a specialty. Everybody there is a good cook. I've not even made this before. I'm just going on faith because anytime I'm looking for a recipe, the first cookbooks that I pull out of my shelf are the community cookbooks from where I grew up. The church cookbooks, the different club cookbooks, they're all full of fantastic recipes and you can pretty much count on every single one of them being a winner. So let's start making some pie. I'll be honest, pie crust is not one of my strengths. In fact, I've not yet to make one that I was even able to pick up and get into a pie plate. So until I learn how to make pie crust, my friend the doughboy is helping us out with the pie crust today. So the first thing I want to do is to spray my pan with some spray oil and then put my pie crust in. Okay, so there's the spray. And I always take the pie crust out of the refrigerator a little while before I want to use it so that it has a chance to start warming up and it's not quite so hard to work with. I'm using a 9.5 inch deep dish pie plate so that just in case the pie starts to bubble and boil up, maybe it won't overflow. I have vivid memories of my mom's pies doing just that. As soon as she bought a deep dish pie plate, that stopped happening. So when I was pulling out my pie plate, I had to make the choice, do I want the regular, do I want the deep dish? And I thought, learn from mom, go for the deep dish. So that's why I'm using the deep dish today. There it is. It doesn't have the pretty crimping around the side, but that's okay. It's what goes in that counts, right? Next up, the apples. And the recipe called for 3 medium apples that should come out to about 1.5 cups of shredded apple. I have really small apples. So I have 5. I'm just going to spend a few minutes peeling and then coring these, and then I'll start shredding. I'm just going to quarter the apples and then I'll go in on a diagonal, cut the core out, and then I'll drop the apples into a bowl of cold water so that they don't turn dark before I have a chance to start shredding them. Okay. So that's the first apple, and I'll just continue with the other 4. One of the ways I like to recycle is to use the plastic grocery bags that I get when I have grocery delivery. I use those for any peelings or anything like that that I'm doing when I'm cooking in the kitchen. And then it's easy to just tie it up, toss it in the trash can, and not worry about it. So multiple uses, and then I don't have a mess on my counter. I have my measuring cup, I have my grater, I have my apples. Once I start this, things move fairly quickly. I'm going to cut my butter into some smaller pieces and melt it. And I'm going to also go ahead and lightly beat my egg so that as soon as I have my apples shredded and measured, I can mix everything together and immediately get it into the pan. Okay, there's the egg and there's my butter. Okay, now let's get started. I'm going to drain these. So I have drained, and now I'm going to dry my apples a little bit because I don't want them wet when I put them in the bowl with everything else, because with the sugar and all of the other spices and everything, it will start macerating and pulling the moisture out of the apples, and then that will make the pie too soupy and it will boil over and we'll have all kinds of trouble with it. So to keep that from happening, I've dried my apples, and then I will mix everything together quickly and immediately get it into the pie pan and into the oven. Very carefully scraping when it gets down really small. I'm just setting it off to the side. And I do have almost 2 cups of apples. They're very wet, so I'm just going to pour them out onto some paper towels. I'm not going to try to get all of the liquid out, but just some of it. I don't want it, like I said, I don't want it to be too juicy. And the sugar will help to pull the rest of the juices out of it, so it will be just fine. Are you ready to go quickly now? Hang on to your hat. I have 1 egg lightly beaten. Pour that in. I have 1 cup of sugar. Pour that over it. I have 1/4 cup of butter that I've melted. Pour that over it. I have a tablespoon of cinnamon and a 1/4 teaspoon of salt, both in here. Sprinkle that over it. And the recipe didn't have this in there, but I can't imagine baking a pie without a little bit of vanilla extract. So I have a teaspoon of vanilla extract. Okay, time to mix. Going to mix this up quickly and thoroughly. And the sugar's already starting to do its job and pull out the juices from the apple. It's mixed, so into the crust it goes. Okay. And using my rubber spatula because I want to get every bit of that sugar and cinnamon and butter into my pie plate. I probably could have made this in one of the smaller pie dishes, but I didn't. It's gonna have a little extra crust around the top. It's okay. I've already preheated my oven to 400 degrees. Going to put this in for 15 minutes, and then when the timer goes off, I'll turn it down to 300 degrees and let it cook for about 40 minutes. And it goes. I'll see you back in 55 minutes. The timer just beeped, so I'm gonna grab the apple pie out of the oven. Wow, just look at this. The crust is perfectly browned. You can't see the bottom, but I just looked at it and it is just a beautiful golden brown. You can see all the little bitty pieces of apple that are just adorable. There's just no other word for it. They're adorable. And there's just something so comforting about apple and cinnamon. That aroma combination is just one of my favorites. In fact, I buy so many apple cinnamon candles, it's not even funny. Well, actually it is kind of funny, but anyway. I cannot wait for this to cool so that I can have a piece later. Alright, the pie has cooled down. I've cut a slice and added some whipped cream to it. Let's see how it tastes. It's light. It's a different consistency than a normal apple pie. It's creamy and it just has that comfort of the cinnamon in it along with the apple. It's absolutely tasty and I can't wait to dig into the rest of it. As always, the recipe is in the description box below the video. Please check that out if you'd like to make this pie. If you enjoyed today's video, please be sure to give it a big thumbs up. If you've not already, please do subscribe. While you're there, hit the notification bell so that you find out every time I upload a new video to YouTube. Thanks for watching. God bless.